Rigorous inspections. Again, classic result from the 1970s. The single most time-effective way to find bugs is actually not to write tests. It is to have somebody else read the code. You've all had the experience of, I don't know why this doesn't work. If blah, 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 blah. Somebody comes in, looks at it, and says, right there. Right? Fresh pair of eyeballs. Fagan showed that. What Cohen showed just a few years ago, looking at a very large study at Cisco, is you don't need 3 or 4 people looking at it. All of the cost-effective bug discovery comes from the first person to look at it and the first hour that they're looking at it. If I've got a choice between 2 people look at 2 different pieces of code or the same 2 people look at one, the second is more cost-effective than the first. The second person won't find enough extra bugs to justify the opportunity cost of not having the second piece of code looked at yet. Similarly, if I take a look at bugs found versus time, and they can do this because the tool they deployed at Cisco tracked things very carefully, there's a really sharp tail off at that magic number of about an hour. Back of your brain gets tired, focus drops, all you find after an hour are the shallow bugs like this should have been indented differently, not the deep bugs like the logic is inconsistent. Okay.
Does that reset?
Wait, pardon?
Does that reset?
If people rest and have a chance to go away and do something else. Switch the task, get some exercise, something. Right? So, this tells me that if you're writing code, never mind how long you spent writing it, you should be creating blocks that you're checking into version control or submitting for review that people can read carefully in about an hour. Because if it takes 3 hours to read the change you just made, I'm not going to find bugs in the second 2/3 of that. Design your coding practices around what we know about how the human brain works. Why wouldn't you? And we know a fair bit about this. Okay. How much code can I read carefully? With error bars, I can read on a good day, if I'm focused, I can read about 300 lines of C++ in an hour carefully. But that's a really good day. And that was 5 years ago. Right? Today, I would probably cut that in half. 150 lines an hour. Okay? The good news is that I used to keep the stats on this pretty carefully. I write about 200 to 300 lines of C++ a day. I don't mean type it in. I mean working finished code. You look at how much code I contribute to a project over the course of a year, I'm averaging about 260, I can't remember the exact number, lines per working day. Okay? And it still surprises me that a lot of programmers look at me and raise their eyebrows. It's like, you're a bit anal retentive, Greg. Right? How many of you are serious athletes? Or used to be? All right? If you're a runner, you know, roughly, ballpark, you know your time for running 5K. If you're a swimmer, if you're weightlifting, you know how much you bench press, right? You're a programmer, why don't you know how much code you can produce? Why are you keeping track of those things that you're not being paid to do, and you're ignoring the things that you are being paid to do? Interesting question.